Today we're going to be talking about Chapter 3.1, How did the rise of extremism affect international relations? The cause of the Wall Street crash and Great Depression. The U.S. economy was heavily reliant on exports and protectionist policies which reduced foreign buying power. The tariffs imposed by other countries reduced demand for American goods. Panic selling on the New York Stock Exchange led to the Wall Street crash on the 29th of October in 1929. This resulted in bank failures, financial ruin, and the beginning of the Great Depression. The impact of the Great Depression. Mass unemployment in the USA due to reduced industrial production, worldwide economic collapse as American loans dried up, particularly affecting Germany, international trade and industrial production declined, causing global deflation and unemployment. Widespread social unrest increased the threat of revolution and political extremism. Extremism means the holding of extreme religious or political views. Rise of political extremism. Economic hardship caused unhappiness with democratic governments. Support grew for extremist ideologies like fascism and communism. Democracies like Britain, France, and the US survived, but weaker democracies like Germany, Spain, and Japan collapsed. Adolf Hitler's rise to power. Hitler became the leader of the Nazi Party in 1921, appealing to unemployed youth and disillusioned soldiers. He criticized the Weimar government and Treaty of Versailles. Early Nazi efforts, like the Munich Putsch in 1923, were unsuccessful during Germany's temporary recovery. The Wall Street crash revived Nazi support, and unemployment and economic chaos increased their popularity. Hitler's path to dictatorship. In 1932, the Nazis won 37% of the votes in the election, becoming the largest party. Hitler was appointed as Chancellor on the 30th of January in 1933. This legally exploited constitutional weaknesses to dismantle democracy and establish a totalitarian state, the Third Reich. The impact of the rise of dictatorships. By 1933, major powers such as Italy, USSR, and Germany became dictatorships controlling all aspects of life. Dictatorships use censorships, propaganda, and armed forces to crush opposition. The rise of dictatorships renewed tensions between powers after the 1920 period of improved relations. Nazism in Germany. Hitler's rise ended Germany's improving relations with Europe, for example, the Locarno Conference and League of Nations membership. Hitler's aims to destroy the Treaty of Versailles and rearm Germany alarmed France and Italy. France returned to a hardline policy against Germany, and Italy feared German expansion into Austria. Mussolini supported Austrian independence, sending troops after Dollfuß's assassination attempt by Nazis. Stalin's Russia. Stalin feared Hitler's anti-communism and expansionist goals, Lebensraum targeting USSR and Poland. Tried but failed to secure alliances with Britain and France. Britain and France distrusted Stalin more than Hitler during the Great Depression. Military dictatorship in Japan. Japan's democracy collapsed after 1931. Manchurian invasion. Military took control under Emperor Hirohito and Prime Minister Saito. Japan withdrew from the League of Nations in 1933 and signed the Anti-Comintern Pact with Germany in 1936. Italy later joined the pact in 1937, alarming the USSR, Britain, France, and the USA. Fascism in Italy. Mussolini initially respected abroad for his role at Locarno in opposition to Hitler's Austrian ambitions. Economic problems after the Great Depression weakened Mussolini's popularity. Shifted foreign policy toward aggression, invaded Abyssinia in 1935 with no criticism from Germany. Formed Rome-Berlin Axis in 1936 and Pact of Steel in 1939 with Germany. Britain and France were alarmed but unwilling to ally with the USSR against Germany and Italy. The political situation in Spain before the Civil War. Since 1885, Spain was ruled by King Alfonso IV under a weak constitutional monarchy. Multiple political factors developed. Monarchists preserved king's power and church authority. Liberals reduced king and church's power, create a modern democracy. Socialists, rapid social and economical reform, state control of industries. Communist, Russian-style revolution, abolished political parties, a class of society. Anarchists, reject all government and authority. And separatists, regional independence for groups like Basques and Catalans. The rise of dictatorship and political instability. The Great Depression weakened Rivera's support, he resigned, and King Alfonso abdicated in 1931. The Republic of Spain declared, political chaos followed. Right-wing CETA and left-wing Popular Front coalitions formed but failed to stabilize Spain. In 1936, killing of right-wing leaders sparked a military revolt led by General Francisco Franco. The outbreak and spread of the Spanish Civil War. In July 1936, military revolts started spreading in Morocco, which then spread to mainland Spain. Franco's nationalists controlled northern and southern Spain. Republicans controlled central and northeast Spain, Madrid and Barcelona. Foreign involvement in the Spanish Civil War. Germany and Italy provided Franco with military aid and aimed to establish another fascist state in Europe. Britain and France divided public opinion, created a non-intervention committee to avoid escalation, and refused aid to Republicans. Committee was largely ignored by Germany and Italy. USSR supported Republicans with limited aid to prolong the war, but not ensure their victory, sought to prevent a fascist Spain, but avoided provoking Britain and France. Motivations for foreign powers. Italy. Mussolini saw glory, national prestige, and used involvement for propaganda. Germany tested rearmament strength and distracted Italy from Australia. The USSR wanted to prevent fascism, but avoided a communist Spain to maintain relations with Britain and France. Role of international brigades. Volunteers from Britain, France, Germany, Italy, Russia, and USA joined to support the Republicans. Motivations ranged from fighting fascism to seeking adventure during economic hardship. Outcome of the Spanish Civil War. By late 1938, the USSR ceased supporting Republicans. Franco strengthened by German support iron mining rights. In January 1939, Barcelona fell. In March 1939, Madrid fell. Franco declared victory. Franco's rule after the war. Franco established a military dictatorship similar to Mussolini and Hitler. The key differences were strong support for the Roman Catholic Church and no Jewish persecutions. Spain stayed neutral during World War II, and Franco remained in power until his death in 1975. Aims of Hitler's expansionist policies. And to end Germany's commitment to the Treaty of Versailles, recover all lost German territory, including the Polish corridor, develop Germany's navy, air force, and army, unite all German-speaking people, and gain Lebensraum through territorial expansion. Early achievements from 1934 to 1938. Success in undermining the Treaty of Versailles without provoking war. Used threats, diplomacy, and propaganda to achieve aims. Exploited European appeasement and isolation of target countries. The Saar plebiscite in 1935. The Saar region returned to Germany via public vote, the plebiscite. Propaganda victory for Hitler, claimed peace with France. Rearmament in 1935. Reintroduced conscription, violating Versailles Treaty. Publicly created the Luftwaffe, a German air force. Expanded army to 600,000 men. Withdrew from the World Disarmament Conference. The Strasser Front in 1935. Britain, France, and Italy agreed to resist treaty changes. Weakened when Britain signed the Anglo-German Naval Agreement in 1935, and Britain allowed Germany to build a navy 35% the size of Britain's. The Strasser Front collapsed after Italy's invasion of Abyssinia. Remilitarization of the Rhineland in 1936. Hitler sent troops into Rhineland, which violated the Treaty of Versailles, issued orders to retreat if resisted. No resistance occurred. France and Britain protested but took no action. Anschluss with Austria in 1938. Attempted in 1934 but failed due to Mussolini's opposition. After forming the Rome-Berlin Axis, Hitler successfully annexed Austria. They added 7 million people and significant resources to Germany, strengthened Germany's strategic position in Europe. The Sudetenland Crisis in 1938. Targeted 3.5 million German-speaking people in Czechoslovakia. Nazi-orchestrated riots and demands led to Munich Conference in September 1938. Britain and France pressured Czechoslovakia to cede Sudetenland to Germany. Chamberlain claimed peace for a time after reaching agreement with Hitler. The invasion of Czechoslovakia in 1939. Hitler broke the Munich promises, encouraged Slovak independence to destabilize Czechoslovakia. Germany occupied the rest of Czechoslovakia in March 1939. Britain and France protested but still avoided military action. Hitler's peaceful claims were now clearly false. The Poland Crisis in 1939. Hitler demanded dancing and access through the Polish corridor. Violated both the Paris Settlement and 1934 German-Polish Agreement. Germany invaded Poland on the 1st of September in 1939. This led Britain and France to finally declare war on Germany. This was it for the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Bye!